Hello. Hi. It seems that the felon-in-chief just continues to flirt with breaking the law. He has no respect for the laws in our country, and as a convicted felon, he should have never been allowed to ascend to the White House. For the first half of this video, you will see a portion of the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milne's retirement ceremony from a few years ago, where he refers to Trump as a wannabe dictator. The second half of this video will discuss a lawsuit by members of the FBI for Trump's lawlessness in his contribution to the events of January 6th.
I'm deeply honored to have worn the cloth of this nation for 43 and a half years, and I'm humbled to have served as the 20th chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. But today is not about anyone up here on this stage. It's not about the President, the Secretary of Defense, me, CQ. It's not about us. It's about something much larger than all of us. It's about our democracy. It's about our republic. We are unique among the world's armies. We are unique among the world's militaries. We don't take an oath to a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Those values and ideas are contained within the Constitution of the United States of America, which is the moral North Star for all of us who have the privilege of wearing the cloth of our nation. It is that document that all of us in uniform swear to protect and defend against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Those who sacrificed themselves on the altar of freedom in the last 2.5 centuries of this country must not have done so in vain. The millions wounded in our nation's wars did not sacrifice their limbs and shed their blood to see this great experiment in democracy perish from this earth. No, we the American people, we the American military, must never turn our back on those that came before us. And we will never turn our back on the Constitution. That is our North Star. That is who we are, and that is why we fight. Thank you, and may God bless our military, and may God bless the United States of America.
Now, when the general said foreign and domestic, he had emphasis on and domestic. And he was obviously referring to Trump during that. Okay, next part of the video.
You're watching The Legal Breakdown. Glenn, we have some unprecedented news here. As you know, Donald Trump is seeking retribution against the thousands of FBI agents who participated in the prosecutions related to January 6th. We had spoken last week about the prospect of some type of class action lawsuit, for example, that FBI agents could take against this administration. We have a major update on that front. Can you explain what just happened?
You know, Brian, on the legal Richter scale between 1 and 10, this is about a 17. This is the FBI in a class action lawsuit brought expressly against the leadership of the Department of Justice. But make no mistake about it, it is brought in a very real sense against Donald Trump and his lawless cabal, his administration. These FBI agents just went to a federal court in Washington, D.C., and they are seeking injunctive relief. What does that mean? They want a court to order Donald Trump to stop what he's doing, which includes potentially endangering the safety of FBI agents and employees and wrongfully terminating FBI agents and employees for what? What was their transgression? They investigated and assisted in prosecuting the crimes that we all saw committed at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, 2021. And because apparently prosecuting the people who committed those crimes at Donald Trump's urging, remember that? Fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore. Now go to the Capitol and stop the certification, stop the steal. Because they make Donald Trump look bad, not only did he pardon all of the J6 criminals, but he's now trying to punish the FBI agents and the prosecutors who did the hard work of the American people, abided by the rule of law, were loyal to the Constitution, and held those J6 criminals accountable. And the FBI...
And talk about weaponizing. He's using the office of the President of the United States as a weapon for people that he doesn't like. And the guy is sick. He's demented. He wants to be a dictator. He has no freaking business being in the White House.
Said, enough, we're done. We are taking the DOJ leadership and by proxy, Donald Trump to court to put a damn stop to a runaway, lawless presidential administration, because that's what it is. Now, here is just a little flavor, Brian, and I urge all of our viewers to read the very short and digestible 16-page lawsuit that was just filed by 9 FBI agents who are representative of the class. In fact, it says, come now the plaintiffs, John and Jane Doe's. What does that mean? They don't even want to put their names on this pleading for fear of retaliation, retribution by Trump and his supporters, including his January 6th mob that he opened the prison doors for so they could go out and continue to do his dirty and dangerous bidding. Comes now plaintiffs, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 9, on behalf of themselves and all similarly situated current and former agents and or employees of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And they are asking that the court put an immediate stop to what Donald Trump has demanded the FBI agents and supervisors do, which is fill out a questionnaire. I want the names of every FBI agent and employee who participated in the investigation and prosecution of January 6 defendants. I want to know what they did, and I want those names because there is no mistaking what Donald Trump intends to do with those names. 1, unlawfully terminate those people from federal government employment, and 2, distribute those names to everybody so his supporters can potentially get after those people. And it is that second nefarious goal of Donald Trump and his henchmen at the Department of Justice that the plaintiffs, the FBI agents who filed this suit, zoom in on page 2. Plaintiffs assert that the purpose for this list of agents and employees who worked on January 6th cases is to identify agents to be terminated or to suffer other adverse employment actions. Plaintiffs reasonably fear that all or part of this list might be published by allies of President Trump, thus placing themselves and their families in immediate danger of retribution by the now pardoned and at-large January 6th convicted felons. And they go on to set out 3 different counts, 3 different causes of action in this legal filing, this lawsuit. But let me tell you, this is historic. And we can talk in a few minutes about why this lawsuit being filed has such important implications for not only the health of our future democracy, but the very viability of our democracy.
Glenn, I want to dig into the prospect of Kash Patel's impending confirmation. If these FBI agents are successful in seeking injunctive relief and then ultimately win this case, what are the implications if Kash Patel becomes FBI director? Because, of course, he's going to want to be deferential to Pam Bondi and the DOJ and Donald Trump. And so would these FBI agents winning this case prevent Kash Patel from doing what he so clearly wants to do by rooting out these people from the FBI?
Hard to say, and I can't predict just how far Kash Patel will go to put into action the retribution against his enemies. Remember, Kash Patel, in his book, Government Gangsters, has a 60-person deep state list. The Washington Post characterizes it as an enemies list. We don't know whether this will have any deterrent effect on Kash Patel's desires to do Donald Trump's dirty, unlawful revenge bidding by going after these people. I can only hope it does deter him from, nefarious conduct moving forward in the horrific event he is confirmed as director of the FBI. But I think what this tends to suggest, Brian, is the FBI rank and file will not respect a Kash Patel if he insists on doing Donald Trump's dirty bidding now that the FBI agents themselves have gone to court to ask a federal judge to order Donald Trump to effing stop it. I'm really agitated right now, but we can talk about why this is so important, this lawsuit, because let's remember, there were already lawsuits filed when Donald Trump tried to revoke the constitutional guarantee of birthright citizenship, and within about 24 hours, a federal judge put a stop to it. And when he tried to pull all federal funding, I think we're up to 2 federal judges who have put a stop to it. And what happened? The Trump administration backtracked. I have a feeling that this lawsuit may not work its way through the system. It may have the desired effect of having Donald Trump and his henchmen at the Department of Justice, who themselves seem perfectly willing to violate the law on behalf of dear leader, it may cause them to back up and say, okay, maybe our criminal scheme to unlawfully terminate FBI employees who worked on the J6 cases wasn't so smart, and maybe they will back up on this one as well. But if they don't, here is the second really important takeaway. Donald Trump has already been flirting with ignoring court orders. I think the last move of an aspiring dictator, a tyrant, an autocrat, is when courts order him and his administration to decline to do something. An autocratic government, a dictator, will say, I don't care what the courts have ordered me not to do. I'm doing it anyway. And you know why? Because the courts don't have an army or a law enforcement agency to enforce their orders. It is only through the goodwill of the executive branch that we abide by Supreme Court rulings or court orders. And so I have a feeling, this is sort of the battle being met between the preeminent law enforcement agency for the United States of America, the FBI, and a lawless Trump administration who is determined to wrongfully hollow out the FBI. And I think it will make it much, much harder for the Trump administration if they are deprived of the law enforcement resources of the FBI because they choose to violate court orders that are put in place to protect FBI agents from wrongful termination. I think it makes it much harder for Donald Trump to sort of wield the dictatorial power that I think he is dying to wield.
Glenn, all of this pushback, Trump is going to use this as evidence that the deep state or these people against him actually exist, right? Like he'll try to do something illegal. He'll brand these people as deep state operatives. When there is inevitable pushback because what he's doing is illegal, is unlawful, then that kind of feeds into the very narrative that he's been perpetuating. He'll say, well, look, there wouldn't be this much pushback if I wasn't exactly correct, if I wasn't hovering over the target. So I'm wondering if the fact that the acting FBI director, Brian Driscoll, who is a Trump guy, right? Like there's a reason that he's elevated to that position in anticipation of course, Kash Patel being named FBI director. But Trump already got rid of Christopher Wray, who, by the way, he himself appointed so that Brian Driscoll could be elevated to acting FBI director. So this is somebody who Trump viewed as acceptable to lead the FBI while we await Kash Patel's confirmation. Does the fact that even he, Brian Driscoll, is pushing back against this as a Republican, as somebody who was palatable for these MAGA folks, does the fact that he's pushing back kind of undermine this idea that Trump trying to fire all of these FBI agents is in fact not some deep state plot or deep state pushback, but in fact just an illegal action?
It doesn't just sort of cut against or debunk Donald Trump's claim that the entire FBI apparatus that investigated the January 6 crimes, they're all members of the deep state. It eviscerates that bullshit that Donald Trump is forever spewing in the public square. But here's the really good news now that this lawsuit is filed on this precise issue. Doesn't it breathe life into the deep state narrative that Donald Trump is always spewing? That narrative will not play in federal court. And at this moment, that's all that matters. It might forever play with a certain segment of Donald Trump's hardcore supporters. I mean, these are the people who, when they hear Donald Trump saying, we're going to have a necessary recession and you're going to experience a lot of pain. These people say, genius, I'm here for it, dear leader. I'm taking liberties. And I don't mean to mock all of them because it's a small segment who are just so sucked into the cult that they just can't seem to get themselves out of it or out of their own way. Once it gets into court, just like he was forever spewing that he didn't do anything wrong in New York, and yet a jury said, yeah, you're wrong, sport, and promptly convicted him of 34 felony crimes. So let's get these things into court where rational minds will win the day, and Donald Trump's scheme will be defeated in the long run.
Glenn, let's finish off with this. While this class action lawsuit is going on, is this going to prevent Donald Trump from even being able to fire these people? Or is this just going to give them some type of platform, for example, to be able to collect back pay or collect money after they were fired? I think the goal for us, look, we want to see, I think you and I are aligned in wanting to see these people stay at the FBI so that they can continue the work and won't just be replaced by Trump acolytes, right? Trump sycophants. But I think the other possibility here is that if they are terminated, then obviously these are retaliatory terminations, the unlawful terminations, and so they're eligible for financial compensation. But that isn't going to, which is the right thing to do to seek that kind of relief. But that's not going to help our broader goal of making sure that the FBI isn't taken over by Trump, by MAGA acolytes. And so what are we looking at here? Are we looking at trying to keep these people in place, or are we just looking to make sure that they have some relief in the event that they are indeed terminated?
First, we're looking for the former. We want this to be stopped dead in its tracks. This unlawful action by Donald Trump, this revenge, this retribution, this retaliation, we want it to stop this minute. And I think it is likely about to stop, given this injunctive relief, this lawsuit that was just filed by the FBI agents, because we don't want to wait for these FBI agents to be unlawfully terminated only so that they have to spend the next year or two fighting in court. Right. They will probably win, as others before them, including people from the FBI, have won wrongful termination suits.
Right, but they'll be gone already, and so that's not going to help the broader goal of making sure the FBI doesn't just turn into a MAGA loyal wing of the executive branch.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you know what? It feels like an eternity, but it's only been, 3 to 4 weeks since Donald Trump was sworn in, and people were like, when are folks going to start filing class actions? Well, the most important class has just been assembled and filed a scorched earth pleading. I urge everybody to read it because they set out how Donald Trump virtually launched the attack on January 6th, how he refused to call off the attackers who he was directing. He had every power during the 3+ hours to stop the damn attack against our police officers and on the United States Capitol. He refused to do it. And they take the reader through chapter and verse of Donald Trump's insurrection. This is so important that the preeminent law enforcement agency for the United States of America is the one pursuing this lawsuit against the Department of Justice and by proxy Donald Trump, because they are fighting back with everything they have, just like James Dennehy, who is the top FBI official in the New York field office of the FBI. It was reported yesterday, said to his troops when they were being told, self-report, tell them who you are, tell them what you did so you can be wrongfully terminated. He said, we will not do that. He said, I'm a former Marine and I'm used to digging in foxholes, getting in there, having the back of my people and hunkering down. And he said, and I quote, it may suck, but it works. And that is what the leadership of the FBI is doing, not only up in New York, but as you say, Brian Driscoll, Donald Trump's acting director of the FBI in Washington, D.C. It seems that the FBI is coming together against this lawlessness. And for days now, Brian, I've been saying, and we've been discussing how the FBI will not take this lawlessness lying down. And they just proved that in the most dramatic way.
Well, obviously, this is a major story. As you said, a 17 out of 10 on the...
Okay, the felon chief is very good at deflecting attention away from things that directly affect us. I remember the lie that he told about getting prices down while he was running for re-election, and it would happen quickly after he took office. Well, the tariff war that he started with our major trading partners, that is Canada, Mexico, and China, has caused prices to shoot up very quickly in some areas, and because the other countries responded with tariffs of their own against U.S. goods, or they are throttling down on some items that the U.S. depends on. Anyone that is an habitual offender and has a criminal record should have never been allowed to run for an elected office. But because the Constitution does not specifically prohibit that, it has happened. And very well may happen again until the Constitution is given some badly needed updates. Thank you for watching.